Hello, everyone, and welcome to Author to Author. I am author and publisher Brandy Hunt, and today my very special guest is Delanda McNair. Thank you, Delanda, for being here.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So, before we just jump right in, pun intended, before we just jump right in and talk about all the books and all the wonderful accolades that you have behind your name, tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from. Do you have children? Are you married? Anything like that?
Okay, let's see. I am from a very, very small town, Roper, North Carolina. It's Washington County. I currently live in Raleigh. And let's see, I am not married, never been married, and I do not have children. I currently get the opportunity to be a full-time caregiver to my 79-year-old mother. And my father, he passed away, what was that? Wow. In 1996. So yes. So that's basically it. I have my background as it relates to work is in travel. So I used to be a flight attendant. I used to be a travel agent. I am a licensed property and casualty insurance agent. And I am also now officially a officer of the state. I just got my notary certificate. So I am a notary public as well. And writer.
Nice. Woman of many talents. I always tell people I don't believe in jack of all trades. Sometimes you got to just have enough stuff under your belt in case anything go left. And so, the Proverbs 31 woman, I don't ever hear them call her a jack of all trades, but she did a lot. Like I'm like, if I could just become half the woman that the Proverbs 31 woman was, I will think that I have done a very good job. Well, that's awesome. So we have here your website, delandamcnair.com, and obviously we see the book here, Farther Than the Eyes Can See. So what led you to pick up the pen is what I call it. What led you to write this book about farther than the eyes can see?
Let's see. Okay, so originally the residue of this book began at that time I was a flight attendant living in Florida. So I had a conversation with my younger sister. That conversation turned into a dream for me. And then it was like a repetitive dream that would not stop. So finally I got back on the phone with her and I was like, hey, the conversation we had some time ago, how about I've been dreaming about it and this is what my dream was. And then so I talked to her about it and it was done. So it's like, then it was picking up. So it's like, wait a minute. So I was like, let me write this down because I was dreaming. Then every time I would talk about it, it was like God was like pushing pause, like, okay, this is the next part. This is the next part. And after me coming back to my sister a number of times with like this is the next part of the dream, she finally said, you need to just write a book. Why don't you write a book? And I was like, whatever, like who gonna write a book? Who has time for that? So it started by me having a dream, me writing that dream down and me talking about that dream. And that's when I learned that I had a interesting creative side of me. And it was a three parts of that. It's like I was seeing it in my head and then I was talking about it in conversation and then I was writing it down. So it was like a see, say, do. And then fast forwarding because again, I didn't move right then because I didn't get it. So I left the industry of a flight attendant and ended up going into insurance, moved back to North Carolina, and then I had all these notes. And so I was like, what is this? And so when I realized what it was like, okay, finally, it was like, I couldn't like keep avoiding it. So it started by the dream that God was giving me. And then I realized he was giving me the book because I did not go and do research. I did not go and create characters. It was all God given. And when I finally said, okay, God, fine. If you dump it here, if you put it here, I'll dump it, I'll write it. And in the beginning, I thought it will not have my name and it will not have my picture because I'm so a behind the scenes kind of person. And I was like, I don't want to be out somewhere and someone want to stop me. Hey, you wrote this book. What did you mean when you said this? No. And so then my younger sister was like, finally, talking to me about it. And I was telling her my progress. And I was like, okay, I talked to someone, I found a publisher and this is what I'm going to do. And then she was excited because she was thinking, wow, she was like, I can see it now. You having interviews. And I'm thinking, no, that would never happen. And she was like, why not? I said, because it will not have my name and it will not have my picture. Well, I said, I already have my pen name. And she said this, she says, okay, all I have to say is this, like, how dare you hide behind some fictitious name when God directly and specifically gave you this story? And it silenced me. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, it's not even about God. It is, but it ain't. Like, why are you going to say that? So then it put me into like a timeout, and I was in the room and I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm like, okay, God, really? Like, does it really have to have my name? Does it really have to have my picture? Because the story is a story. It's going to read the same with or without my picture. And I couldn't move. Like my, the publisher that I went through at that time, they were like asking me for my picture and stuff, asking me what the name. I couldn't move. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll put my name on it, but it's going to have a little picture and you're not going to be able to really tell who I am. And so on that first book, I got away with putting like this small picture, and it does have my name on it. But on the second book, I got over myself and I was like, okay, fine, God, fine. And that's where my LLC is called Truly His Pen, because truly, that's what it is. These writings are like a God download. These are not my stories. It has like a residue of my life or some of the people around me. But yeah, once I finally said, okay, literally, I would go to bed with a pad and a pen at night and would wake up with information, so much to the point that I wasn't even opening my eyes. I would take my hand and guide myself as I wrote on the pad, roll over and go right back to sleep. And the next morning I understood what I wrote.
That's such an awesome experience. And I tell people, being an author is not like any other journey, and you have several that you could compare to, and me as well. I've been an actress. When I say, a creative journey. So being an author is such a creative journey. It's not like any other. I'm a dancer, so I have other creative avenues that I run on. But being an author, I have feet to dance. I have, but words come from nowhere. You literally, I mean, I have a hand to help me get it out, but words come from nowhere. So for me, the creative journey of being an author is just amazing, because if you're in direct connection with God, the downloads are coming regardless, even if you don't want them. It's almost like, I'll say, because I have a baby. Well, she ain't a baby, she's 20, but when I had a baby, the baby's coming. When the baby's ready, it's coming, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And I feel like heaven is the same way. When our life is ready to burst something out of it, it's coming, whether we want to or not. That's why you were able to wake up and still write, because it wasn't you. And I think God did have to move past you, because you had this wall up, like, nah, I get that you want me to be an author, but I'm not really ready. So let me let you know when I'm ready. And God is like, yeah, let me just move you out the way. let me just control your hand.
Yes, because what's the crazy thing is like my parents had a nerve to give us travel growing up. And granted, to some, as it relates to travel and their mindset, it may not have been like some lavish grand thing, but road trips for us was like a given. Like we had family in New York, Philadelphia, North Carolina. What was the other place? I can't even think. But these were the road trips that we would take like nothing. And my parents went to Germany one year. Of course, they didn't take us, but they went to Germany, so they got to see all those sites like that. So yeah, whether it was road trips, going to the Outer Banks, going to South Carolina, because we live close to the Outer Banks. So yeah, like I grew up thinking like travel was a given as a family.
Right.
So then when I left home, you know what I'm saying, and I spent like a short time in college. I was like, oh, I can't just move like I want. Like I saw them move. Like there are some different nuances that have to take place before you can just do that. So that's what helped me realize, okay, look, you need to get a job that's going to give you access to travel on somebody else's dime. And it was going to be either modeling or traveling. And then I realized I went through the training for Barbizon, but then I realized I really do not like taking pictures. How you going to be a model? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
How you going to be a model and really don't like taking pictures? So I'm like, okay, this is not it. And then so the next step was, okay, I need to work at the airport, flight attendant. And so that's how it happened. So I went and became a flight attendant, and I can't even swim. And so at that time, part of the training, the last week of training, like it kicked my butt for 6 weeks. Like you took a test every day, every week, and you had to make a 90 or above every week. So I'm like killing myself, late nights, no sleep. And then on the last week, they was like, okay, everybody, you know what I'm saying, we proud of you. And this is going to be a lax week. And what we're going to do now, basically everybody here, you're in. Because people were falling off, girl. Like we started off with like 40 people. By the time we got to the end, between the backgrounds and then people not passing these tests, I think we had like 30 some people left. That was scary. Yeah. And so they take us over to the simulator and they show us these wings going off over the pools. Like it was different areas. So they took us to this 8-foot thing of water and saying like, okay, what we're gonna do now is you're gonna show me that you know how to work your the life vest. So you're gonna walk out on this wing, jump in the water, and inflate your life vest. And it was 2 of us in there. We like, can you swim? Like, no. So we couldn't swim. And I'm thinking, so we kept telling everybody, you can go ahead, you go ahead. Make a long story short, the instructor was like, okay, come on, you guys, let's come, so we can get this done, we can go do this. And we finally said, look, we can't swim. And then he was like, guys, come on, you done made it through the whole 6 weeks. This is the last step, come on. And then we were like, we can't swim. And he finally said, okay, he said, here's the thing. I'm not gonna tell you how to do it. I just need you to show me that you know how to operate this vest in the event of emergency. You have to get off this plane. And then my classmates, they were all in the pool. They was like, okay, walk on the wing and just slide down the wing and do your vest. You don't have to jump. And so they're like, we'll catch you. And that's how I passed and got my wings, because I was getting my wings. So yeah, after I went through all of that, I was like, okay, you landed your career. You're not going anywhere. And then when God gave me those write-ins, it was like I had been flying for like 1.5 years. And then I was like, what am I going to do with this? I'm seeing the world. I don't have time for this. And he's like, for this. And he was like, and this is just me putting words in God's mouth. Of course, he didn't tell me just like this. But God was like, okay, chick, I can't trust you with your dream. Enjoy these last 6 months. Girl. It's crazy because my father got sick, and it's like I graduated in June from high school. Come October, I left home, and I had been gone from home since that point. And when I went into the travel industry, there were no holidays, there were no Father Days, Mother's Day, because I was always on a plane or in a hotel, and I missed so much family time. But then my father got sick, and I didn't realize it was affecting me. And then something happened at work, and it gave me the opportunity to not be at work, girl. And I was like, when he got sick and I got a chance to go home and be with him, when I came back to work, I realized, you know what? I'm too far from family. Yeah. I am missing too much family time. And then I left. And the thing is, before I left, I saw my father. I had just come home from recurrent training in June. I went home to see my father the first 2 weeks of July. And he died July 31st that same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when I went back, I was on leave. And when I went back to work, I had a meeting first because, like I said, some stuff had taken place. And I realized in that meeting, I was like, you know what? I will be bringing your uniform and your wings back. And that's what I did. And then I left there, and that's when I went to travel agent work as a travel agent. And it gave me more time to access and be available to my family, because I didn't realize how much it mattered until my father got sick.
What year was that?
That was in 96. It was 12 days before his 56th birthday. My father was only 55 when he died.
Oh, wow. What was the cause, if you don't mind me asking?
Girl, okay, so here's the thing. We knew we saw growing up, we saw him take medicine for hypertension. We saw that. But on his death certificate, it said that he died from complications of diabetes, and he had never done we never had any kind of information. He was never dealing with anything directly for diabetes. He wasn't on any kind of medications for that. So girl, I don't know. And it's crazy because that morning that he died, I had just left I was in training. I was in training to be the travel agent. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee at that time. I had moved from Miami. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. And my sister called me that Friday morning, and she was like, hope sit down, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, what is it? And then so she told me the information. And girl, do you know I still with the training? Because I was just in execution mode. No, you're in training, you got to go to work.
Yeah.
So I went to training. And one of my classmates, she noticed a difference in me, and she finally got me to talk. And she was like, what's going on? I was like, man, I'm good. And so that's how it came out. And she went and talked to instructor for me because I wasn't thinking, you don't need to be here right now. And so, yeah, right. She talked to instructor talked to me, and I went home. But the crazy thing is, before my father died, that day before, he was on my mind like crazy. And I used to call him a certain day of the week every week. And that it was a day before that he was on my mind. I picked up the phone to call him. I never did. And he died the next day. So I didn't get my last conversation with him. So yes, so family became more important. And then I became more available to my family. And then the writings end up coming right on point, because in the first book, the one that's showing now, Father, Then the Eyes Can See, I ended up writing a stroke scene situation that I didn't realize was that would matter directly. Those writings again began in 1995. That book was completed and published, made available to the public in 2013. So in April, the last weekend of April of 2012, my mother came here for a visit in North Carolina, in Raleigh. She came for a visit with us, and she never went home because she had a stroke on my watch. She had a stroke yes, girl. My mother came here again, 2012. The book is already at the publisher, going through whatever it's going. I'm finished with the book as it relates to me writing it.
Right.
I wrote a story of a stroke. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this. The stroke thing in this book, Father, Then the Eyes Can See, it was a single father. The mother died not too long after the child was born, and the father just became parent focused, so he went to work and made sure his son was taken care of. But the son was like an excellent student, and he was excelling. So he had got to go to the college of his choice. But the last day, he had gone to the job to say goodbye to everybody, because he was getting ready to literally get on the road to go to college. His father is at the house. He walks to the end of the street to the mailbox and never walks back because he has a stroke.
The single dad?
Yes. So that was a stroke story in Father, Then the Eyes Can See that I had already written.
Wow.
But then fast forward, my mother comes to spend a week with myself and my sister. And the night that she's here with me, she never makes it. She never leaves. So yeah.
Your mom survived though, right?
Yes, my mother did survive. And the stroke victim in the book, he does survive. My mother survived. Yeah, my mother survived. She's actually still living with me now. And that's the other thing. I am a caregiver. Did I even say that in the beginning?
Yeah, you did. You said you were a caregiver to your mother. So that's right. You did say that. So
yes.
So she recovered just enough for you to be able to take care of her? Or is she somewhat, is she still mobile? How much did it damage her?
Girl, okay, so the stroke itself, it affected her left side of her body, but my mother was still walking with the quad cane.
Gotcha.
So she could at least, if you spot her, she was walking back and forth. However, there was someone that was trying to speed up this process and wanted to take my mother somewhere with them. My sister and I was like, no, we don't think it's time for her to go. But my mother is one of those people, she's always out and about. So she's still thinking, no, I'm good, I want to go. So how are you going to override your mom?
Right.
We're telling her we don't think so. And then the other person hear her saying like, no, she want to go, I could take her. Make a long story short, it was too soon. It was an environment where the temperament was not pleasing for her. And she ended up getting extremely dehydrated.
Mm.
So because that was not a medical issue, after the 3-day period when they was observing her, they released her to what was supposed to be a rehabilitation facility. Make a long story short, they dropped my mother, did not report it. They kept coming to get her for rehabilitation when they shouldn't have. So what started off as a hairline fracture on her hip turned into a full broken bone. And because she was still being moved and they had her walking, it separated, slid, the bone traveled up and fused on her hip. So her legs are off. So because of that, not because of the stroke, that's why she does not walk now.
Jesus Christ.
Girl, that's what we said.
That's a lot. And that all happened within a couple of years of each other, right? Because that was, your dad died in 96. This was, what your mom was in the last couple of years?
Yeah. Her stroke happened in 2012. That injury with her hip happened, the dehydration that led to them having her in the facility, that happened the following year. So 2012 was, April 2012 was a stroke. And then her hip situation was like May 2013.
Gotcha. Well, you've been very strong through it all. I'm sure that God has had your eyes on him. So I would, so the book, Farther Than the Eyes Can See, did that help you heal from losing your father?
I'm so glad you asked me that question, because, sometimes when you get the opportunity to talk with or interview with the book, I really do not know what questions to make sure I answer or have someone ask me. And I did not realize the healing that I still needed from my father's death. Again, like my father, I was 25 when my father died. I talked to him every week, sometimes multiple times during the week. His voice mattered to me. Even if he didn't necessarily tell me what I thought I wanted to hear, I was still going back. Like I needed to hear my father's voice. And it's so crazy because I still have conversations even now that I so wish I could have my father's voice on. So definitely the writings, it was so therapeutic for me in so many different ways. And the thing is, here's the thing, my father's first name is George, okay? So one of my main characters in this book, Farther Than the Eyes Can See, his name, the single father, his name is George. Did I name him George because I'm gonna name him George because my father's name is George? No. For whatever reason, George was just a fitting name for me to give this single father who was making sure his son had everything he needed, as well as a balance at home. And so when I later was having conversations about it, I start seeing, wow, those are some of my father's characteristics, but I didn't necessarily give them to him to be that. So it was definitely therapeutic. There is so much wrapped in George, the character of this book, that was present in my father. So yes, very much so.
Awesome. So where did you get the title from? Like, what is that? What does the title mean? Well, I know you got the whole thing from God, but so what does the title mean?
Okay, so in the Bible, and let me say this, I know the book referenced the Bible. It's not a Bible thumper like you're going to hell if you don't do this. No, it was just no, because here's the thing. I say that because I was at work one time and I was talking to a coworker about it, and then this person that was in earshot came over, and they said, well, I hear you talking about your book. They said, so, like, is it a religious book? Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, no. Like, yeah, I do subscribe to a Christian lifestyle. Am I perfect? No,
Right.
absolutely, I am not. But I do read the Bible. It helps me. I do pray. So I had to ask her. I said, okay, when you say religious, what do you mean? Because I want to make sure I'm honestly answering your question. That's what I said. Because in my mind, it was not clear. Oh, yes, a religious book. It was not that clear to me. So she told me what she meant. She said, because you know how some people be telling you, like, you're going to hell if you don't do this. And if I said, okay, I'm glad you answered. I said, here's the deal. Do I subscribe to a Christian lifestyle? Yes, I do. Do I think I'm perfect? Absolutely not. Do I read the Bible? Yes, I do. Do I do everything the Bible tells me to do? No, I fall short. I said, do I pray? Yes, I do. I said, but do I be thumping on somebody else, telling them they're going to hell because they do or do? I said, so here's the thing. I would not say it's a religious book. I said, are there Christian values in there that I have gotten from the Bible? Yes. I said, but that's only because of my relationship with God, or because what comes out to me when I pray or when I read. So
Right.
I said, so is it a religious book? My answer to that is no. It's more of a relational book. It's a relationship book because of my relationship with God, or because of my relationship with his word, that's what helped birth whatever you get from this book if you decide to read it.
Right.
So yeah, so the title came from the Bible. There's a scripture that says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And for me, I'll just put it all on me. I don't always do that. I do not always seek God first. There have been plenty of times when I thought I had the great or right idea about something, and I proceeded to walk those
Mhm.
things out. And then I get there in the middle of it or at the end, like, you know what? Okay, God, really? You let that happen? Oh, but by the way, did you check in with me first?
Right.
So, so no, I didn't let that happen. You set yourself up for that to happen. So that's where the title came from, because I have learned for me, when I truly took time to take a step back and seek him first, or simply ask him, like, okay, God, this is what I'm thinking, but I don't want to be out of your will. You know what I'm saying? I want to be, it's more important for me to be right with you, or better, properly positioned with you, opposed to me having what I think I want right now in this moment.
Right.
So that's what the title is, because whether you seek him first in the beginning, in the middle, or in the end, guess what? At some point, you're going to need to seek him.
Right.
It just makes it a whole lot easier if you do it first. So that's why the title is Father, then the eyes can see. Because once I seek you, come to you, my vision is going to be a whole lot clearer. I'm going to have clarity, and I'm going to have
Amen.
a better idea of what it is I'm supposed to do and how to execute it. And then when
Amen.
it goes on, yeah, and then when it goes on to say, like, it's a book about redemption, forgiveness, and love, the love of man, the love of God. Again, talking about me. That's what I have done before in the past. I wanted to love on man before I loved on God. And then when the right, wrong thing happened, then I was like, oh, okay. Then I want to come back and love on him. So that's where it all
Right.
came from. Because sometimes there were times I did not have it in order.
Amen.
But he was still there and had grace for me.
Always. And I think, the older we get, the more we do realize that our life is not our own. And we do have
Right.
to, submit to the leading of the Holy Spirit. And you can keep trying to run away from it all you want, but eventually you just run right back into yourself. And so
Right.
then you have this book, You Taught Me. So what is You Taught Me about?
Whew, girl, you taught me. That little 3-word title. So, okay. So you taught me is basically getting the opportunity to recognize that, first of all, second chances are there. But just how open are you to those second chances? And how available are you to those second chances?
And what kind of second chances are we talking about, like in relationships or, you know, life in general, work? You know, what kind of second chances are we talking about here?
Okay. The title, it basically in general. However, there are two particular situations. I will say this. In this book, again, this is the follow-up to Farther Than the Eyes Can See, because Farther Than the Eyes Can See is a cliffhanger. So if you have to choose between these books, you're going to definitely want to buy Farther Than the Eyes Can See first, because You Taught Me comes in and picks up from where Farther Than the Eyes Can See drops off.
Mm-hmm.
And George, not George, George pulls over from the first book in this book, because there are elements of his life that did not unfold that unfold in this book. He finds new love. He recovers from the stroke. There's another situation where there was a father and it was a young couple. He was married and his wife died at childbirth. So he left the hospital only with his child, his son. And
George.
So, no, this is Colin.
Another guy.
Colin is a new character in this book.
Okay.
So the thing is, and the reason, you know how sometimes, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Brandy, this is just unfolding now as I talk to you, because you're asking me these questions and it's triggering things in my head. For me, you know how some people have their childhood where they saw their mother be the strength.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a very present but silent strength in our family.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw single fathers. Now, granted, that was not directly in my house, but I did see it, and they did it right. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So that's why Colin in this story, and like in the beginning, like with the other story, it's showing you, like, even back in the day or in present day, there were some single fathers who, for whatever reason, end up being single fathers, and they straight up owned it and did it to the best of their ability. So with Colin, he was bitter, but he didn't realize he was. He was bitter so much so that he was leaning on his family to take care of his child. Like, it had come out in the story, like he didn't even know what size clothes to buy his child. Now his son came home and slept in his house with him every night. Mm-hmm. He put him to bed, but he was going through the mechanics of being a father to him.
Right.
Because he was throwing himself in work. And for those first 3 years, his family was allowing him to do it because they really did not know how to be there for him, but be in his face at the same time. Like, look, no, like your son needs to get to know you. So finally they had the conversation with him and they told him no. And so that's when his eyes began to be open. That's when Colin realized, like, he really was still bitter about his wife not coming home from the hospital. And Colin finds love. Now, in this book, You Taught Me, it talks about the caregiver side of that stroke situation, but it's in a different family. Now, this actually tells a little bit about my caregiver life with my mother. And so Sarah, in this case, is the one who basically has shut down to a personal life because she goes to work, come home, be a caregiver, and she's everything to everybody else, but not including herself as a part of her day-to-day life.
Yeah. They sound very good.
Thank you. There are a couple different lessons that are being learned that, like, oh, well, you know what, you taught me that, but I just wasn't paying attention. So there are a couple.
The you is the other person in the relationship, or is it God?
You, for me, was God, because there are it's crazy. It's a little residue of me in each character. And so when writing this book, it was like an eye opener for me. And I was able to see myself in in ways I never saw myself before. For
Amen.
instance, I am still learning how to, it's crazy because sometimes I do these videos on Instagram and Facebook. And yesterday my question was, life, do you include you in a part of your day, in a part of your day daily? Because I was taking me for granted. I do not consistently include me in a part of my day. I
Right.
know, I'm going to execute for my mother. My mother, when she came with a dog. I'm
Right.
going to execute. I'm going to execute for her little fur baby. You know what I'm saying? But then there are times when I just barely drag myself upstairs to bed. And then it's like, girl, I'm mush.
Right. And then expected to still be able to show up as your full, whole, authentic self when you're somewhere crumbling to the wayside. Yeah, COVID helped me do that. I didn't really necessarily want to um,
Yeah.
be off at this extended amount of time before COVID
Right.
hit. I wasn't a
Right.
flight attendant, but I was traveling around the world. On the company paid for hotel, they paid for the rental car. I was a traveling corporate trainer. And so I was
Okay.
in St. Louis, Missouri. I remember when they called me on my break and they said, this thing looks like it's getting ready to get bad. All the trainers are going home and we'll call you when the world opens back up. I'm
Right.
like, y'all for real? Like the whole
Right.
world shut down? And they were like,
Yeah.
yeah. And this was mid end of March. I want to say March 21st. I remember the day because I was like, God, I just took this leap of faith in September to leave my corporate job to become contracted so I could publish, because that was my ultimate dream, was to have a job where I could do what I love to do, which was speak, coach, write, and help people, live their dreams. So when
Right.
they called and said, you're going, I was tired. Like when I say I had just told somebody, I'm going to take off I'm going to take off for 3 months from May. I think I was going to take off from May to like August or September, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how tired I was. I was saving my money so I could let my company know, take me off the schedule, because the last 20 years of my life, I'm 40. I know I probably look like a little girl. I always tell people when they're like, 40, where? And I'm like, it's good genes, honey. I have a 20-year-old daughter who thinks she's my sister. And so actually she thinks she's my mama at this point. And so, but, I'm like, I've been in a call center environment and I've been literally running my body raggedy between trying to run my business, being an author. So I'm still a publisher and an author and a life coach. And I'm trying to do all of these things and travel. Nobody told me how strenuous traveling was. I thought you just show up at the airport, jump on the plane, and it's not. You have miles to walk in the airport. I mean, miles. Miles, people. And I'm like, why do I have to walk a whole marathon through the airport? And they're like, oh, you
Girl.
can catch the train, and then off the train catch a bus, and then off the bus you can take a cab. And I'm like, I'm too old for this.
Girl.
I
Yeah.
was already, when I say I was already spent, and I had only been doing it from September. I started in like July, and then I went full time in September. And so this is March. And then I was training for 6 hours, standing up all day. So I went from sitting to standing. So I went from
Wow.
sitting in a call center to standing all day. After that class ended, I had to get in a car and drive for 3 hours to my next location. Then when that day
Wow.
was over, I had to drive 3 more hours. So I would land in like a metropolitan area and then drive all around. So that, coming back to yourself is such a relief. Like you're like, oh, I didn't know that I liked peanut butter. I didn't know that I like and people think that's so simple, but you're like, but I was eating what I had to eat, or I was eating what was I was on the road, so I didn't get to choose, all the time.
Right.
Or, you
Right.
running out the door at 6 o'clock in the morning, dropping a kid off at school, going to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know. So when I became an entrepreneur, I don't wake up before 10 o'clock. For you, I got up earlier because we had this sick schedule, but not, I don't even know how. And I told him, I said, I don't know how she scheduled 11 o'clock because I don't do nothing before noon.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. It must have been the Lord, because I was like, I purposely, because I don't like mornings. I realized that over time, I just like to stay up in the night. My brain comes back to itself. Everything's
Yes.
calm, peaceful. And then I kind of start moving around at 9-ish, 10. I'm, crunk up by 11. I'm ready to talk to somebody. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, so when you crumbling, and I know you're like, well, Brandy, some people are like, well, our children are still 2 and 4. Well, then I've already gone through my personal pandemic. Is what I tell people. I've had to choose between gas and groceries. I've had to choose between my car payment and my rent. So,
Right.
so now the season of my life I'm in is I have no man, I have no husband, I have no child, I'm home alone. And some days I complain about it. I ain't gonna lie. And
Right.
then I
Right.
meet people who have their world crumbling, and I'm like, Brandy, just shut up. Just
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
be in the
Yeah.
silence. just be okay. But when your life shifts, the first thing you want to do is complain. Well, it was better in Egypt. Remember when the Egyptians was like, well, we knew when we were going to eat in Egypt,
Mm.
even though Pharaoh was treating us like crap, we want to go,
Right.
because in the wilderness, we don't know all the answers, which is where we are right now. So, but yeah,
Right.
so I definitely understand that whole find time. And I tell people this all the time, even if it's just an hour. And if you can't do a whole hour, split it in 30 minutes. Whoever
Right.
you're serving will have to understand that you got to keep you together, or you're not
Mm.
going to be able to serve them. You got
Right.
to pull back. You have to pull away. I would believe that you would have never been able to write these books had you not pulled away from something. Something had to go.
Girl, it's crazy because um when I first, with the first book, Farther Than the Eyes Can See, I did not enjoy any part of that journey because I was in tussle mode. Like, I'm like, what's the point of me writing this book? Like, why am I doing this? And
Right.
who am I writing it for? And so that's why it took so long, Brandy. Those writings came to me. They started trickling in my dreams in 1995.
Wow. Hear
I
that
did not.
authenticity. Everybody always think that it happens overnight. Everything don't happen overnight. So yes, continue.
No, for me, he started giving me excerpts in 1995. This book was not published until 2013.
Okay.
We were like, I'm like, yeah, okay, well, yeah. And it's crazy because as long as it was just in the dump stage, here, take this. Okay, fine. I'll write it out. Here, take, okay. But when it got down to like, when I read through everything and took all my notes and put it in a Word, it was a Word doc at the time. And then when I dumped all my notes and I sat back, I was like, wow, God, this is some good stuff.
Right. Well,
It's like, if this was a movie, I would so go see this. And then in my mind, I'm done. And then it was like, you really gonna leave that not finished?
right.
Because I'm a person of completion. So now I'm like, wait a minute. So I really gotta do this? Like, but I could not rest. So yeah, so when I did the rest of the research and went and got it done, it was like nugging and tugging and like, But with the second book, I did everything for the second book. Like, I went and found my own formatter. I published it myself. I found my own editor. I published this one on KDP. Like, I did everything. And I enjoyed every part about it. This one is like, my company released me. I have been working for my company for like 18 and a half years. And they released me in April of 2019. And so at first I was like, oh my God, I need to, like, I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was like, I need to go back. I need to find something to go to work.
Right, right.
And I was like, and then finally I took a breath and I was like, wait a minute. You on payroll till this day. You know what? For your birthday this year, you're going to get this book done. So this second book, like, it ended up being my birthday gift to me in 2019. It was my, I'm 49. Look, I got to think about it. I'm 49 now. So it was my 48th birthday gift to me to have this book completed. So it was published on June 21st and my birthday was June 22nd. And I did all the work for this one, even down to finding someone to do my cover. I'm blessed that my church, there's an artist at my church. His name is Eric McRae. He is a lovely artist. He's so awesome with it. And we did a collaboration and he was like, well, what you want? Like, what I owe you, sister, what you want? And then I went to his studio and I was like, wait a minute. I'm going to push pause because I'm going to need a book cover. So I was like, you don't owe me anything until it's time for this book cover. He was like, okay. And so that's where my book cover came from, because I did a collaboration with him on some writings and that was my payment. And so, yes, like, so I found a book cover. I found the formatter. I found the editor. And then I took my Truly His Pen LLC and I did the publishing for this book. And I enjoyed every crazy minute of it. Even late nights, nights turn into morning with the quickness. And I still got it the next morning. Again, I'm a caregiver. I'm a fur baby giver. And so I still got up and did everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we probably could talk for hours and hours, especially about books and publishing and all of the fun stuff. But I got it 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And so, and I knew that I always tell people that time flies by. I mean, it's like as soon as we start talking, it's over. But tell everybody where they can contact you, how they can keep in contact with you via social media. Obviously, they can see your website right here. But how can they get in contact with you and get to know you more via social media?
Okay, so on Instagram, it's at Delanda McNair. That's Instagram. It's my first and last name. On Facebook, it is author Delanda McNair. For those in the Wake County area, I just had the lovely pleasure of teaming up with Black Friday Market. So my books are actually in the store at Black Friday Market in Raleigh, North Carolina on Hargett Street. Of course, you can order the book on Amazon. If you have the ISBN number and the title, you could take it to your favorite bookstore and have them ordered for you there. If you want a autograph copy, you are going to want to contact me on Facebook and we can set up something and you can pay via Cash App and we could get your autograph copy.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And, you know, maybe we'll just have to set up a second interview to just keep this same one going. Any last and final words to the people who have been watching today?
My last and final words are this: you are so, so worth whatever it is that God gave you. Trust him. Trust him and do it. Go execute. Because Amen. He gave it to you because he know you can.
Amen. And as I always tell you, if you want to publish a book, if you're thinking about publishing a book, if you're thinking about writing a book, you haven't even gotten the manuscript out, I give free consultations, no charge. The links will be with this video wherever it is. Thank you so much for watching Author to Author, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome.